Hey everybody! In this week's video, I'm going to show you a very simple alcohol marker scene that was so much fun to build with this awesome beach scene building die. And of course, a dotted cover plate. This one looks like waves and it's so abstract and fun. I have my OLO markers that I'll be coloring this scene with. And I just wanted to show you how very simple this type of coloring can be and how you can really build a fun, bright, happy scene with it. I've chosen the elements out of the die set that I want to use. I have some clouds, some little grasses, a palm tree, we have to have that, a little sailboat, and this beach chair. I love the beach chair. And of course, from my Jonathan Livingston Seagull loving heart, some little seagulls. So this little strip of land is going to be how I will anchor my scene. And I'm testing out on a little scrap some different colors to use on this. And I found this beautiful warm sort of ochre color that I thought would be perfect for this sand. Now the free flow in these markers makes this particular type of coloring so easy because you get so much ink flowing out of these markers very smoothly that it just makes this a snap. Now, when you're coloring on glass, be sure and kind of clean up after yourself because you can contaminate the colors that you're using with the leftover ink that is on the glass. So you'll see me doing that every now and then and or avoiding the areas on the glass that have ink on them. This is one of the great features of any alcohol marker is that you can do palette blending. So you can pick up ink from another marker with your marker. It doesn't damage your marker and it helps you blend colors, but you can also do it on accident like everything else. So just be careful about your work surface. The brush end of the marker is what I'm using on these larger areas. You could use the chisel marker. These are customizable. So you can decide what each end of the marker is, or you can use two colors that you like to blend together and just snap those two together and you have a little blending set all ready for you. Now these little teeny pieces, you just want to put a little bit less pressure on the tip of your marker. It has a very fine tip, and if you press it down, it's like a paintbrush. You can get a wider streak. But here, as you can see, I can very finely color these little tiny details on this chair with just the brush point and very light pressure. Now I had to make the chair red. I thought about making it blue and white striped, but it's so cute in red and there's nothing else that color in the scene. And so it sort of becomes the focal point. Now I did die cut the little sun, this little perfect circle, and I'll color that yellow. And at first I thought I wanted my seagulls seagull colored, which is not the name of the marker, but it should be. But they ended up getting a little bit lost because I'm going to do a really fun background technique. So I will end up coloring those a different color at the end. And I'm just putting a little bit of gray at the bottom of each cloud. Now here's my favorite part of this project. These beautiful waveforms in this cover plate die have plenty of room for you to add some alcohol ink. And so I'm going to use a few different colors of blue and just fill these in, and it becomes like this abstract sort of little piece of modern art that I think is just fantastic. And this is some very easy coloring because these are just curvy shapes. So you'll just follow the outline. I'm not going quite to the edge of the dotted outline when I'm doing this. I'm leaving a little bit of white space so that you can pick up on that dotted detail, which is, as you know, my favorite thing in the world. I just love using these dies. Now, this one does not have to be waves. It doesn't have to be sky. It can just be a general overall texture, but it is waves and sky for my project, and it's perfect for that. That's why I thought that the blues would be a good idea. So I chose kind of a cornflower blue and then an ultramarine style blue for contrast, and then I will have one more color in the mix here, and I'm just randomly selecting where these are, or as randomly as my brain will let me select where they are. But see how abstract and fun that little pattern is in the background, and it's very quick coloring. There's no shading. As you can tell, I've done no shading on any of these little die cut pieces. This is a very, very easy colored scene to make. So I will finish putting the darker blue, and then I'll come back with a green blue. So I have kind of a cool blue to start with, that very pale sort of sky blue, and then the nice ultramarine, and then now I have just a little bit of yellow added into the mix, so a little bit warmer color. And if you choose little triads like that, you're going to get the kind of variation that you want in a scene like this. And you can see not every one is colored. It doesn't have to be, but it does give you that feeling of motion and the ocean, and just becomes a perfect backdrop for this little tropical scene. So I will just figure out where I want each of the little pieces. I wanted the chair kind of far out on that little, what would that be, an archipelago? What would that be, that little strip of land? I'm not quite sure. At first I thought I wanted this sailboat, and you know, it had to be sailboat blue, right? But then I figured it got kind of lost in those waves out there. So I ended up leaving that off. And here's where I discovered that my seagulls can't really compete with that background. So I ended up making them a little bit darker, and they're so teeny and cute that they really look like one is in the foreground and one is in the background. Now I'm just using my Be Creative glue here. Glue really helps me get the scene where I want, lets me wiggle it around just a tiny bit, and lets me put foreground and background items. Like this tree is going to be in the background, and then the little grasses will be in the foreground. And it gives me enough time after I just gently set the tree down to pop the little sun behind the tree and then press the tree the rest of the way down with my magnet. The magnet gluing process is actually my favorite part of this glass mat. Yesterday I was doing a edge-to-edge shaker card, and I was gluing a sentiment on top of the shaker material, so that clear plastic that was from stamp packaging. And it was so nice to be able to pop a magnet on there. And I knew that I wouldn't like squish the glue out from under the sentiment by accidentally moving it, which I always do with my hand. Just pop that heavy magnet on there, and it was all good to go. So a really great feature of the magnetic glass mat. You can see my coupon code for the glass mat below. You can get 20% off if you would like to try one. Now I'm once more going back and darkening this little seagull again. I ended up with them being black, not dark gray. And I think it really helps them pop out of the scene, especially that somewhat busier background. Now with these little guys, I always just like to put a little tiny dot of glue on whatever like the longest little strip is. I do find that, especially with real delicate die cuts, they will come up a little bit at the edges. So make sure you just put, even if it's just a tiny dot of glue on those skinny bits, that you add that. So here is the finished beach scene card. I love it so much, and the sentiment is so sweet. So head over to my blog for more information on this card, and thanks so much for watching.